There's a certain satisfaction in discovering that the old ways didn't just work. They actually outperformed modern techniques by centuries. The pioneers, well, they didn't have pressure-treated lumber, synthetic sealants, or any of those engineered coatings. What they did have was a really deep understanding of how wood behaves, what causes it to decay, and how to protect it using only what the land around them provided. When settlers pushed westward, their survival depended on their structures holding up against rain, snow, insects, and, the relentless passage of time. If a cabin failed, a family failed. So they perfected a method that many today have forgotten, even though it rivals the best chemical preservatives on the market. This guide brings that lost technique back to life, showing exactly how it worked, why it worked, and how you can actually apply it now, using the same natural materials the frontier families relied on. The pioneers discovered that wood must be protected from the inside out, and that meant saturating it with lifelong oils instead of just coating it with surface sealants. Modern finishes often fail because they only protect the surface. They crack, peel, or just wear away. Pioneers learned quickly that if moisture reached the heart of the wood, the battle was lost. Their answer was a preservation method built on infusion rather than coating. Raw linseed oil was the cornerstone because it penetrated deep into the fibres and polymerized into a hard, water-resistant mass. When harvested from flax seeds and left unprocessed, the oil seeps into wood for hours before slowly curing. Frontier families warmed the oil over a low flame until it thinned out, and then applied it with cloths, brushes, or even handfuls, letting it soak as deeply as possible. A single application protected for months, but the real magic happened when they applied it repeatedly, day after day, until the wood stopped absorbing. That saturation made the timber nearly immune to swelling, shrinking, or cracking. You can still use this exact method today. If you're restoring an old barn beam or, preserving tool handles, just apply raw linseed oil on a warm day. Warm oil, well, it penetrates farther. Add more each time the surface dulls. Within a week or two, the wood will have absorbed enough to form a barrier that rivals modern preservatives, without a single drop of synthetic chemicals. The protective formula was strengthened when pioneers blended linseed oil with pine tar, creating a natural hybrid seal that shielded cabins, barns and wagons. Linseed oil alone was strong, but when the pioneers mixed it with pine tar, the result was nothing short of remarkable. Pine tar, produced by slow-burning pine roots in oxygen-poor pits, is packed with resins that naturally repel insects and water. When combined with oil, it produces a finish that sinks in, cures hard, and forms a flexible barrier. The exact ratio varied by region, but pioneers often mixed 2 parts oil to 1 part tar, heating them gently until they blended. The smell became iconic on the frontier, smoky, earthy, and unmistakably tied to long-lasting structures. This blend was painted onto exterior walls, tool sheds, wagon frames, and even wooden stovepipe collars. One application lasted years, and repairs were only needed after extreme weather. You can replicate this by heating pine tar just enough to thin it and mixing it with raw oil. Brush the blend onto warm wood, or even sun-heated wood, and allow it to cure. The result is a finish that darkens beautifully and guards timber through rainstorms, UV exposure, and humidity changes. The pioneers elevated wood durability even further by charring the outer layer to create a carbon shield long before anyone called it a technique. While many associate wood charring with Japanese shosugi-ban, pioneers across America used the same idea independently. They discovered that lightly burning the surface of wood created a carbonized outer shell that resisted insects, moisture, and fungal growth. Fence posts, sill beams, and ground contact timbers were often charred before installation. Pioneers would hold a beam over a small fire until it darkened, then brush away the loose ash, leaving behind a hardened carbon layer. This carbon acted like armor, and when paired with the oil tar infusion, it became one of the strongest natural preservation systems ever used. Applying it today is simple. Use a propane torch or controlled flame to toast the wood surface until it blackens but does not crack. Brush it clean, then apply the oil tar blend. This method is especially valuable for garden beds, fence posts, raised structures, and anything touching soil. You get superior protection without needing pressure-treated boards or chemical-infused lumber. The effectiveness of this pioneer method came from its ability to adapt to the environment rather than fight against it. You know, modern coatings try to seal wood completely, trapping moisture inside or cracking under temperature swings. The pioneer method works differently. It allows the wood to breathe while keeping water and insects at bay. The oil fills the internal fibres, the tar creates a surface barrier, and the char drives off pests and bacteria. Together, these layers form a system that modern chemistry has tried, and well failed, to replicate convincingly. Studies of 120-year-old cabins show logs treated with these natural methods are often still structurally sound, while untreated replacements installed later have rotted away. You can apply these principles to almost any wood project today. If you're building a tool shed, preserve the exterior walls with the oil tar blend. If you're installing posts, char the bottoms and follow with oil. If you're restoring old furniture or outdoor benches, use raw linseed oil alone or add a small amount of pine tar for durability. The method is simple, inexpensive, and proven by generations who, quite frankly, had no margin for error. This pioneer preservation method survived because it relied on knowledge, not chemicals, and that makes it just as valuable now as it was 2 centuries ago. In 2025, people are returning to frontier methods not out of nostalgia, but because the results are measurably better. These natural preservatives penetrate deeper, last longer, and avoid the failures that plague synthetic finishes. When you adopt these techniques, you're not simply preserving wood, you're preserving knowledge carved from the survival of generations. If you want more forgotten frontier techniques brought back to life, make sure you subscribe to Echoes of Valor, share this video with fellow history lovers, and help keep these time-tested skills alive for the next generation.